And then my friend took me, and I was like, "Oh, hi!" And I was like, "Who's this guy?" It's Toji. It's like,
yeah,
oh.
that's Toji, right? Toji's bar. It's on the side.
Yeah. So I asked for
one of the
whiskey.
6 seats.
Yeah. I asked for a scotch, and then he was like, "Okay, ice or no ice?"
Sorry.
And then oh.
We're live.
I hate the sound of my voice. So he was like, "Do you want ice or no ice?" And I said, "Oh, ice, please, but just one ice cube because I don't want." And he goes, "No, we only use a one ice." And I was like, "Okay." And it was like this perfect crystal ball that comes out. And I was like, "Oh, I got it. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to offend you." You're more serious than I am about your booze, Koji.
Awesome. Hey, so of course there's going to be a 20-second delay between kind of what we're doing and what's on what's live. So as we kind of watch the Kickstarter and watch it end, like it's gonna end before the Q&A ends. We'll be like, oh gosh. So anyway, and I know Sen's gonna join us here in just a little bit, and I'm gonna kind of have this up on 2 screens so I can monitor the questions that come in as we're also monitoring the Kickstarter. So let me do that. But right now, it's Brandon Ayton and Matt Orr from Wedding Games, designer Banana Chan of Jiangshi Blood in the Banquet Hall, and then Stephen Wu, artist extraordinaire.
So extraordinary. So
extraordinary. Hey, Stephen, you want to do some art? Oh, yeah, here you go. Have some art. That's happened more than once during this campaign, which I think is hilarious. You're like, yeah, here's some art, and just happened to do like 5 pieces today. Let's check it out. And it's always amazing.
Honestly, yeah, Stephen, you've been such an amazing, like, just doing all of this work for us has just been incredible.
It's really fun to do too, right? Like, because it hits all of the sweet spots. So it's like all the stuff I like to make. So.
Yay.
I mean, that's always good, right? When you get to like create in a space that you really enjoy and you connect with, like, yes, I want to do that.
I feel like every single thing that you guys, I've worked with you all a lot now, but everything you all like pitch at me is all stuff that I want to make, right? So it's like, oh, hey, you want to do, horror World War I stuff? Yeah, okay, sure. I'm gonna be doing that anyway. And you want to do like Chinese inspired, but Jiangshi, and yeah, no, that's things I like. Do you want more pizza? Yeah, yes, please.
Yeah, I guess the alternate, the other side of that coin is like, yeah, I guess I'll do that thing that I absolutely hate, but it pays the bills. Like, you're not necessarily like right. in that world. It's just like, yeah, absolutely, I'll do that. And I think, with like Tenebria that you had done at 1.4, so it was just like, I want to do this, and great, we want to see that, so make it happen. Like, that was always fun. So in this kind of Q&A, this is obviously not really Ting's Vids actually has a question that is what I'm leading to next. This is gonna be pretty informal. We're just hanging out and chatting with friends and followers and anyone else who's here. But the very first question is, what's everyone having for dinner? So so what's everyone having for dinner? I guess we can start with Banana. What are you having?
So I have a spot right across the street from me called China King. There are several China Kings in the New Jersey, New York area, but this one's my favorite because it's across the street, and the family there is super nice. So I ordered I don't know if you can see this. Wait, hang on. Let me just like try to pan that down. But I got an egg roll and some lo mein, shrimp lo mein, and I got a whole lot of vinegar just to like, get ready for it. And like, I'm one of those people that just like douses everything in vinegar. So I don't know if you saw the Hyper RPG live stream that they did a while ago when Malika was cooking up a recipe for, I think it was like spring rolls.
That was amazing.
Yeah, it looks so good. But she was basically like, oh, I never tried it with vinegar before. And I was like, I'm one of those people who uses a lot of vinegar for a lot of things, so it might not be for everyone.
Oh, one of my favorite things, because I know that like my wife does a lot of baking, and Matt, like for like St. Patrick's Day, like he'll always bring over like this big loaf of Irish soda bread and does all kinds of stuff. And so like when she said, when she was wrapping her spring roll, and she was like, I kind of want to use this as like phyllo dough, and I want to like make my own phyllo dough using. I was like, that would be awesome. That would be, in watching her entire stream, like if you can go back and check it out, it was awesome. I've never seen her do any of that stuff before, and I like it. So apparently she does that for other games, right?
Yeah, so I think because, of the quarantine and everything, she's been doing like a lot of cooking in general. So she has like a cooking show on Hyper RPG now. But usually, aside from being the CEO of the company, she also plays games and all that fun stuff.
Awesome. So Matt, Steven, what are you guys having?
I'll let Matt go first.
So
mine is still getting prepared.
I went to Roots, which is a all vegetarian. It's Pan-Asian, but it's all vegetarian. So that's the deal for me. So I have a miso and mushroom soup, and then I got this. It's like sliced up egg rolls on a bed of rice noodles with some other tofu pieces and vegetables mixed around. So I'm looking at it down here. It's steaming up the lid down here. So I'm ready to tear into it.
Wait, are we eating right now? Or are we waiting for some?
I mean, I am.
I'm not currently eating, but I'm ready anytime.
You got to eat that. Those crispy rolls are gonna get soggy. You gotta dig in.
I know. And they had the plasticware, but I got my little ceramic spoon here, and I got my my own chopsticks here. No plastic fork for me.
Nice. I always love Roots, and I feel like sometimes their dishes are better than other restaurants' meat dishes of the same thing. It's so good.
I've never had anything bad from Roots. I think both of these are new to me, but yeah, I've never had anything bad there.
Awesome.
I think that's the one thing I kind of miss is like mock meats, like mock duck or like mock chicken, like that. Because I am not very good at cooking. I need to like go out and buy these things at a restaurant, and there's nowhere like by us. But if you go into a city, then plenty of restaurants. But also at the same time, can't really go into the city right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we haven't done too much eating out in the last 2 months. I mean, we don't eat out much anyway, but we definitely have done even less in the last couple months. So like I went up and they had like, I don't know, it's so weird. Like they have these huge windows at the restaurant, and like I'll go onto the street, and then like they just had them open, and they were like had like a table set up right there by the huge window, and like I was like, oh, they got the cash register set up there or whatever. It's like, no, they just had the window open, and like you'd walk up and they'd be like, who are you? And I'm like, I'm this guy. And they're like, all right. And he would go in the back. Like I watched him walk through the whole restaurant into the kitchen and then bring out the food. And then he took my credit card back all the way back to the back of the restaurant to the register, and then brought up the receipt or whatever. It's like, you could have just put the receipt. I mean, it's like I don't know. Whatever they're doing. I mean, I'm not criticizing their choice. It was
It's
like,
not a shallow restaurant either. Like this is
no, it's short storefront, deep restaurant,
yeah.
Like most places.
So
but the food was very hot when it came out. So there's that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like I had mentioned earlier, I had ordered from this place called Jade Palace, which Jade Palace has been like, it has been across the street from like my parents' house. It's where I grew up you know, and it's been in business like as like the strip mall became like, you know, completely nothing. You know, it was like a drugstore and like a frozen yogurt stand, and you know, and then they completely renovated it, and now it's like this high-end shopping little district strip mall thing. And so but Jade Palace has always been Jade Palace. Like it's always been great. And so like, whenever we used to go get Chinese food or order Chinese food, it was always Jade Palace, and I'd walk across the street and go get it. And I ordered, I was telling Banana right before we got on here, I ordered Cantonese chicken chow mein. And normally I'll get like chicken chow mein or something of that sort, you know. But when I ordered it, the woman who took my order was like, "Hold on. You understand this is Cantonese chicken chow mein?" I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." She goes, "It's pan-fried noodles." I'm like, okay. She's like, "So this isn't just chicken chow mein?" I'm like, okay. And so she's walking me through. It's like, when you get it, you're going to take your pan-fried noodles, you're going to put it on your plate or whatever, and pour everything on top of it. And she's walking me through, obviously hearing, "Hey, you're this little white guy like ordering this thing," and I totally appreciated it. And I was like, "No, this is awesome. Thank you. I will try it." Because again, I've never ordered this before and I never had it, but yeah, I totally appreciated her like pumping the brakes and saying, let me walk you through this. And I got, you know, my rice and dumplings and all that. So let's see. We have some other people who are you know, wishing us well in the chat. We are over 99,000 now, on our way to the 100,000 goal for custom dice. Oh, we're at 99,150 now, and yeah, about 47 minutes to go. So knock on wood, we're almost there. So James Mendez Hodes is getting pork dumplings, some brown fried rice, and General Tso's chicken. All right. Oh, and Todd Hafner says it's only 4 here. No supper plans for this evening. So,
But later
right.
on.
Yeah, later on.
He's got time to make them. That's what he needs to look at.
Absolutely.
It's only 4. He's got time to make them.
Now I need to know what Steven's eating.
Oh, I'm speaking of being bad cooks. So Shanghainese men have a reputation for being good cooks. They're supposed to cook a lot and
Yep.
do housework. I suppose I'm a bad Shanghainese man. Because my wife like kills it. She's been doing a lot of Thai cooking lately in Southeast Asian, but she also does like Shanghainese classics. So I guess they're called shepherd's purse in English, but ji cai, which is like a Shanghainese staple. It's like shepherd purse and then pork, stir-fried rice cake.
Oh, I miss those rice cakes so much.
Me too. Me too.
Oh my God.
So she basically came up and she's like, "All right, what flavors do you miss from home?" And I was like, "Okay, well, this. And then she looked up all the recipes and is making them.
So sweet.
Pretty awesome.
Whenever you post pictures of your wife's cooking, Steven, I'm always just like, it looks amazing. It looks like it came out of like a cookbook or a food blog. It's insane.
Yeah,
so.
she's really good. She's got like a eye for detail and pays a lot of attention to the little things. So when she gets a good recipe, she kills it. So it's pretty awesome.
Senfu, what's going on?
Hey, I was just making D&D characters. That's what I was doing.
Oh.
Sorry,
That's awesome.
That's okay. We'll allow it.
I have a contract to complete, so.
Very similar to cooking.
It is. You know, you have ingredients and you're kind of putting them all together and making something that is delicious to play, I guess. One of the characters is a cook, so.
Oh, nice.
She's also my plan is that somebody will level her up into an assassin who is a cook, right?
Oh,
so
that's a really cool concept.
Yeah, she's a halfling cook, that is so a halfling rogue that is a guild artisan, and I took cooking and baking, and she's currently hired on to a caravan as the cook, and then bad things happen. So there
Yeah.
you go.
So it's
Nice.
Under Siege. We're playing Under Siege. That's fine.
Yeah. Yes. She is literally Steven Seagal with no ponytail.
I love it.
Yeah.
We
Actually, in Under
actually-
Siege, I don't think he had a ponytail, did he? I don't know. Maybe he always has a ponytail.
Probably not if he's like a Navy man in that movie.
That's true. That's
The
true.
internet will
That's true.
know.
The internet
So-
will know, but like he could get away with it though, I suppose.
Well, I
we
think
had,
in the movie he was not actually. He was retired.
No, he was still
knows?
active.
Oh, was he?
But yeah, that was the whole. That's why he was the chef. Was because he was a Navy SEAL, but he'd been like busted down for insubordination or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So he was only able to be on the ship as a cook, but he still obviously had all these skills or whatever. So
Right, I see. Too funny.
So in Wild Skies, one of our other games in like a convention setting, and I actually ran this at Gen Con Online. There's a pre-gen character that's in the main book who's a turtle chef. She's like 7 feet tall. She's a turtle, and her name is Victoria, but her nickname is Biscuits because she's this like British turtle.
Nice.
We had a player like from our original like play test sessions of Wild Skies that whenever she would see us at conventions and see that we were playing Wild Skies, she would always come, always play Wild Skies, and always play Biscuits, to the point that like last time she came and she told me she signed up for the game, I reached out to Mike Muma, who's the artist for one of the main artists for Wild Skies, and he did a custom piece for her of Biscuit,
Aw.
and it was and she's like, I just love the fact that she's this, total badass chef. So
So sweet.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Awesome.
well, yeah, she's proficient in melee because she has to chop up all the like ham bones or whatever.
Right?
But like
Right.
when the sky pirates come, like the meat cleaver is used on the sky pirates. Like it's
Have y'all seen the Stephen Chow movie God of Cookery?
Yeah, of course.
No,
Banana
but
and I had
just
just
the
talked about that a
name.
little while ago.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
It's
You haven't
so
seen
good.
it? Oh, it's good.
Gosh, that sounds awesome.
It's so good. So good.
God of Cookery. Well,
Yeah, you have to watch it.
That's going on the watch list.
Yeah,
it-
for sure.
I'm not
It's
even
so
going to
funny.
describe it because you have to sort of like all the different genres and elements are going to come in. You're like, what? This is also this type of movie? It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to describe
Those are the best.
as one thing.
Yeah.
So I guess one of the things that I guess we can talk about is this campaign has been absolutely like stunning. Just the amount of support that we've seen in the industry, that we've seen among backers, that we've seen just in circles that we never would have even thought about. And I know that we had talked about it a little bit earlier in one of our other Q&A sessions, but like what was the most surprising thing for you all as we from when we launched to now?
I think just seeing the response.
Yeah.
Like that's definitely a thing. I did not expect so many people to be like, whoa, this is, this is something that I'm really into. And like, I think also hearing stories from people who are saying that they're feeling seen from like either reading the game itself or like watching the actual play or, just going through the Kickstarter or something like that. Like just people saying that they feel seen. That's the coolest thing for me.
Mm-hmm. I've been just wowed with the response. Backers like Scott C. I'm just reading Scott C's thing here. Like, can we add on extra sets of dice to help the stretch goal? to have extra
Oh.
dice. You know, it's like, well, why not? So it's just people coming up with creative ways to support the cause and to get what they want out of this. I think I was really quite floored today by one of our Twitter friends who is just, you know,
Oh, Adam
amazingly,
Ellie?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like he just gushed today in terms of like he told a whole story about why this game is important to him, and it kind of came from nowhere, but it was wonderful to read, and it's just nice to know that, you know, we have come up with something that, we're going to use the R word again, it resonates with people so well. And I think that to me has been, from day one to now, the big story for me is that it resonates. And for the art to resonate, for the stories to resonate, and that it caused, you know, Banana and I to write, I think, another 200 odd pages of screenplay because we're just so into this idea. It's really been a thing for us to participate in this campaign. So it just kind of shows that, you know, people want to hear these stories of you know, different people and ethnicities and cultures. So I think it's wonderful.
I think we need to put a pin in something that you said. You used the S word, screenplay. So we're going to circle back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Steven or Matt, is there anything that like really just like stunned you about this this situation?
I think this was I think I'm one of those people that does feel seen, right, by this entire project, and by the way that you all have, you know, constructed the game and gone about running the game, and also by the interest that it's had. I feel like that there's a lot of the stereotype of Asian immigrants as the sort of quiet, you know, head down, work hard sort of thing. It's a pretty sticky stereotype, and it's hard for people to get into that. It's one thing to have someone be like, yeah, I want to be cool like Bruce Lee. It's quite another to have someone to be like, oh, so this is the sort of struggle that, you know, people go through. You don't have to know kung fu, just simply for being who you are and where you come from. There's a fascinating culture and you know, background that people come from. It's really cool.
And I think, you know, that's something that very early on in the campaign, we were kind of, you know, approached by, you know, in a couple different channels, to the point where Banana, you know, you had said like, hold on, this is not a kung fu game, right? Like, not all Chinese people know kung fu. Like,
Sorry, I get mad salty on the internet.
She really does.
you know what? That's where the salt comes from. That's where it lives, right?
It drives these projects.
So Sen, you mentioned
Yes.
you mentioned screenplay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that
You moved on. You were supposed to be me next.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what happened to Matt?
I apologize. I'm gonna pump the brakes. Matt, go ahead.
I'm gonna jump in. I would like to speak as though it is my turn.
It is your turn.
So there's a small thing, I guess, that happened pretty early on, but like seeing the backers' names come through, like all the different people who have backed the project, like to see industry people that have come through, and like, you know, maybe they weren't like, you know, like Scott C there as like posted moment by moment on the Kickstarter, you know, and that kind of excitement is wonderful. And, you know, the industry people that I've seen, they haven't been that active because, you know, they're industry people. They got stuff to do, you know, but like, not that Scott C doesn't have anything to do. I'm just like, it's a false equivalency and I shouldn't have brought it up. But anyway, what I'm saying is that to be even tangentially involved in a project that like people whose names I've seen on game boxes for years, people whose games that I've played, who I've enjoyed, are now throwing their support behind this thing that I'm involved in. It's almost surreal to you know, to be somebody who thinks of himself as a relatively small game presence, you know, and I am. Like I'm like, compared to a lot of other people, you know, I'm not a big presence, but then like people that
We're not a Paizo, man.
Yeah, I'm not right. I'm not a Paizo, right? I'm not Mr. Paizo, but the you know, not Mr. Asmodee, but like it's just great. It's just great to have that kind of response from like people who are peers or potential peers or like aspirational peers, you know, like they're going to get a box that has my name on it now. And like, well, it's got my company's name on it. I don't think it's not going to have it's got your two's name on it, but like, you know, but still it's like to be part of that process is something special, you know?
Yes.
And it's in part just echoing what you guys have said about it being, the response has been amazing to the project, and you know, so
I will say this is the most active in the comment section, and overall the most positive campaign that we've been a part of from the wedding side. I mean, we've never had full-on trolls or anything, but I mean, I've backed a lot of Kickstarters. You know, more than I probably should. My wallet and checkbook, you know, are there. But sometimes you'll get comments and they come out of like left field on like even the most like mundane Kickstarters, you know, and just completely derail a comment thread where people are really trying to engage and talk to the creators and everything. And I will say, like, we've had, you know, a pretty good you know, dialogue and response. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is not anything like, you know, a CMON project where they have like 100,000 comments in the first day and, you know, name recognition and stuff like that. But from our perspective, for projects that we've run, I mean, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, I will say that I've had, speaking of CMON, I've had a couple ex-CMON employees say that they were envious of our project, which is funny, right? Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. So, because I know, obviously, you know, Eric and everybody at CMON and whatnot, but there are people who are no longer there, but that have run a lot of the campaigns. And messaged me the other day and saying, "Bro, I am so jealous of or envious of your campaign for Jiangshi." So what do you mean? You've run like multi-million-dollar campaigns. And they said, well, I mean, it doesn't seem that you've gotten any trolls. And I said, well, there are a couple of little ones. He goes, yeah, but you don't understand. Like it's so disheartening. It is literally disheartening for a lot of my friends who run those multi-million-dollar campaigns to deal with that BS from the backers who are, for all wants, you know, all extents and purposes, just pretty, you know, entitled people in some ways. I mean, not our backers, but some of those other backers, yes, act like that. And it's really disheartening. And it kind of sucks the fun out of it, really, for something that's supposed to be, you know, wildly creative and super fun and playful. And then people start complaining about something and they just harp on it. And the funny thing is that it's usually not everybody. It's usually not even 2% of the people. It's like less than 1% of the people. But wow, are they ever loud? And they have a voice, so they're going to use it.
Well, I also will say, you know, Kickstarter is kind of unique from a platform perspective in that as a creator, you can't really edit or moderate your comment section like you could if you were on your Facebook page or something like that. You can report comments if there's threats and stuff like that. And, you know, we've never had to deal with that. So, you know, knock on wood. Oh, quick update. We are less than $500 away
Woo-hoo.
from the stretch goal of.
Oh my gosh. We just got another backer.
Oh, geez. We while I was saying that. Well, yeah. So Sen
Yeah.
and Banana, both of you have actually written multiple pages and various screenplays set around this theme. And Sen, if I'm not mistaken, did you submit yours to the open call like the Canadian Netflix was doing?
Yeah, we both did.
Oh, you both did.
Yeah, Banana's allowed. She's
I just
Canadian.
didn't post about it. That's all. I will post about it eventually. I'm just getting there.
You're like, well, I knew Sen did. I knew he sent something off. I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
But no, that's awesome.
Yeah, we have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, they said they'd get back to us sometime in August, and it's sometime in August, so we'll see if nothing happens. What's been actually really cool about it is A, the level of support that we're getting from friends saying, yeah, do it. And then B, people who have, industry ties in that end of the industry saying, if Netflix doesn't want it, other people are always looking, and here's how you do that, or here's somewhere to look, or whatever. So we have plans. We have plans to reach out to Amazon and whoever, the cast of Warrior. I don't know.
So
I was about to say, Banana, have you heard of Warrior?
Oh, do I know Warrior? Let me tell you about the show Warrior. I did tag one of the cast members, and he liked it. So that was
Well, there
fine.
you go.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I care about. I can end my game career there.
I was actually pretty stoked today when I found out that Deborah Ann Wall is playing my Scooby game tonight.
Yeah,
That's pretty
that's
cool.
on
BGG.
BGG, yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Super
pretty
exciting.
funny. Yeah, I didn't even know she was gonna play. So it's like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's a pretty pleasant surprise, right?
So I think as gaming industry becomes more and more mainstream, but not so mainstream. I was thinking about this today a little bit. Like, do I really want to go that mainstream? But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more. Endorsement sounds like a weird word to use because it's not really endorsement, but celebrities who are like, I'm a big geek and I'm not afraid to show it. And I'm just happy that there's people like Deborah Ann Wall and Kristen Bell and everybody else who are like, I like board games, I like role-playing games, I'm going to run a whole YouTube channel about it myself or whatever, and use their their star power, whatever you call it, to bring gaming into a different limelight, I guess.
That's funny. You actually had mentioned people using their celebrity in gaming. I mean, we've seen Joe Manganiello has I was talking about him earlier today because I was making an introduction between a couple of friends, and I was like, oh, by the way, this art, the reason why I'm doing this is someone posted this picture, this art, and guys like, oh, well, I actually sold that to Joe, and I was like, oh, so that piece of art is hanging out in Joe's house, which if anyone knows, like, he's very open about his nerdiness and his Dungeons and Dragons room in his in his basement and stuff like that. So, but no, you're definitely seeing that happen more. People in the celebrity circles. Well, like Dame Judi Dench played with played D&D with Vin Diesel or something, and she really dug it. And so I'm like, okay, so Judi Dench played D&D, okay. So real quick, so Mendez has his food. So James Mendez Hodes, who's in the chat, he was our cultural sensitivity consultant and has been an absolute awesome person to work with. And yeah, he's just fantastic. And yeah, so he joined in, and let's see, we also have $318 away from our goal in 24 minutes. So knock on wood. We'll see how that goes. Yeah.
What's Sen eating? So we haven't talked about what.
Oh yeah,
Sen
we
is
haven't
eating
talked about
tonight.
what Sen's eating or what Sen ordered.
Oh, you're muted.
So my wife was picking it up because I had a class to teach just before I came on air, and oh, there goes the numbers. They're going up and up and up. So I have what do I have coming in? Braised beef and tendon. So I really like tendon. I mean, people out there might say, "What do you like tendon?" And I just like it. Let me just see. I have tendon coming in, and I
That's
have
fine.
some kanji coming in, and I have some some pot stickers coming. Lots of stuff. So I've a
Yeah.
half a barbecued duck.
Oh my
That-
god.
Well, I'm ordering it for the whole family.
Oh, okay. I was
Okay.
like, why are we at his house?
They're probably already eating outside, and I just haven't gone to get my food yet because my wife probably is home by now. But yeah, so I'm actually gonna go check. So I'm gonna just
should
shut off
do
my
it.
video
You
for a
should do it.
second, and I'm gonna check,
Okay.
and I'll be right back.
I almost ordered chicken feet today because
Love
Sen was
chicken feet.
saying how much he loves chicken feet. He said that before, and Jade Palace has chicken feet on the dim sum menu. So I was like, I mean, I've never had it, so and I didn't. I went with my standard pot stickers. So
Did you
Next time.
know
Next
there's
time.
now this thing where it's boneless chicken feet? It's like the future
How's
is
that work?
here. I have no idea. I guess they like debone them for you or something, but like usually when you get chicken feet, it's like bones and you have to like eat the skin. I guess that's what it's called. But yeah, apparently they have this newfangled thing where it's boneless at restaurants.
Call me old school. I don't like it. I'm not about it. I tried it. Didn't like it.
Really?
You need to work for your chicken feet. You gotta like get it, work your mouth around it, use your tongue. No. Kids these days. This is why they're soft.
So
Okay, so then I guess I have to ask, like, is it almost just like eating like chicken wings or something? You just shove the whole bone in your mouth and just work it around. Is it more
a
along
little
that
bit more
lines,
work
or
than
is it
that.
a little bit more work? Okay.
Yeah.
The like the tip of the chicken wing, right?
Yeah.
Like not the like the two pieces, but the very tip. Imagine
Yeah, yeah.
that, but a little more complicated. And
All right.
so like probably like eating 3 of them at the same time and just getting the skin off that.
We have Ken Davidson in chat says my elder son throws down on some chicken feet. All
Nice.
right. Bone in always.
When I was little, I always used to think that kanji was like a thing for like older people, like and so like I always had the assumption that like only old people eat kanji, and then it was only until I like grew into an adult that I realized it's because I was never awake during mornings for kanji. So that's why I always assumed it was like an old person thing. And now I eat kanji too, so I guess I'm old.
Kind of in keeping with some of the themes in the game, there was someone who approached me actually more than a year ago, who was telling me that she had made this new invention or new discovery called rice grits, and she worked at a local Japanese restaurant, and one day while drunk, the owner of the restaurant, who's Japanese, made her essentially rice porridge, and then she goes, "All right, listen, my new restaurant, I'm gonna have this dish called rice grits. It's gonna be like rice, but stewed in broth with different ingredients in it, because it's so good. It's like, I hate to tell you this, it's been discovered. Some people might have beaten you to it, but go for it.
Yeah. By hundreds and hundreds of years.
Oh, you got your food, Sad.
I did. Look, tender and delicious.
Oh, so good.
Okay, I'm eating my last dumpling. I'm about to be real sad.
Oh,
We have
Here is
18 minutes left.
here's the rice cake.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Mm.
I love rice cakes. I like the ones where it's like it's fried in the brown sauce, the braised
Mhm.
ones. Those are so good. Oh my gosh.
$258 left to go.
Oh,
So
we're getting there.
can I talk about Mahjong? Again, we were talking about it before we started. Okay.
Yes,
I don't know.
we can always talk about Mahjong.
So, we were talking about it before we started, and so Banana was saying, and like I don't know if Daniel Kwan is in the comments there, but he's definitely included in this. So, because on their Asians Represent stream for showing off the game, both Banana and Daniel were talking about not knowing how to play Mahjong, and this was like blowing my mind because I've known how to play Mahjong since I was a kid, and I totally came by it honestly because my grandmother used to live in Hawaii, and she learned it from some Japanese people in Hawaii, and so like she brought it, introduced it to like, I mean it's like a pyramid down, right? Because you got grandma introduced it, so it's grandma's game, and like everybody knows that this descended from her what Mahjong is, and there's so many sets in my family, and it's a thing that we play. So
168.
So I'm ready. I don't know if it's and I have a couple sets here. So I got one of my sets here out. So I'm ready to be an instructor. If it's not too weird for you to learn Mahjong from me instead of like
Now, not that I'm condoning gambling or anything, but I am down to play.
Well, so this gets into like like as a like there's this weird thing and like about Mahjong that I am, again, I mean I will bow before anyone who has more immediate knowledge than I do, but as somebody who's played this game for a while, there's like definitely like different grades of it, right? So like when I first learned to play, it was like everybody takes it was the American rules, right? Everyone like takes a turn, it's very polite, there's no money on the table. And then like you watch like a Hong Kong movie or something like that, and people are like got their guns and their piles of cash, and they're like jumping in on each other's turns and stuff like that. Like it is there's like a meter, right? Like you're gonna play nice Mahjong like good American school children, or you're gonna play like real Mahjong like some Hong Kong grandmas do with their each one representing one of the families or whatever. I don't know, but like so yeah, there's definitely like some cutthroat aspects to it where like and this is like the big one where it's like if somebody discards a tile and you need it, you can take it, and now it's your turn, and it doesn't matter how many other people were supposed to take their turn before you. Like, you just jump in and take it, and now it's your turn. And so like I think that's where the gambling aspect comes in, because if like you can maximize the hand set that you're collecting to like come up with the victory, like and cut off other people,
$13 away.
$13 away.
$3 away now.
Oh,
We're $3 away.
Oh
Yeah.
wow!
Sorry, I just got really excited.
No,
Sorry, Matt.
it's
But
fine. I was just feeling air. Like that's
Matt, I am
something more
so
exciting
down.
is happening.
Oh
I
yeah,
am so down to play.
we
So-
definitely need to do this at Gen Con. We'll throw down some Mahjong. I will say, Matt actually had mentioned earlier on some other chat that we had that I am and his wife are very similar.
Oh,
Sorry, we just hit it.
We did it.
there you
We were
go.
talking.
Woo! 14 minutes to go. All right. Well, I will be sending an update in 14 minutes. Gonna have a lot of information. So Matt and I, Matt's wife and I are very similar in the way we play Mahjong, because there's, what is it? Chows are,
Yeah, ciao.
they're not worth any points,
There,
but
yeah.
you can use it to complete your sets in order to end the round faster. So it prevents other people from getting points. And I'm like, oh no, I'm totally playing chows. And my wife and Matt and my in-laws are like,
No, I play with chows.
oh, okay.
Don't include me in the no chows part.
They're like, we don't play with chows because chows are garbage. And I'm like, no, you
Chows are
definitely
strategic.
play with chows. And anyway, Mahjong is awesome. And we will, once they actually let us, gather at conventions again, we'll totally play some Mahjong.
Oh, I got some time to get my Mahjong skills up to
Well,
par.
before then, I'm sure there's like a Mahjong app or something. We can all pile in and we can play Mahjong together. And
Before we play for bottle caps.
Exactly.
Someone says, oh, we just need another 20K.
What? Oh, no.
Hey,
virtual tabletop. All right.
Oh,
It's
right,
up-
that.
That's a goal.
It's up to the people.
$20,000 in 12 minutes, guys.
it can be done. There's somebody out there just waiting to drop 20K right at the end.
Send my kid to college or get a virtual tabletop.
That's a cheap college, man.
Yeah, right.
One semester, state school. All right. No, oh, man, that's exciting. I'm like, whoo.
That's the Cantonese beef, Brandon.
No.
I'm gonna open up my fortune cookie, see what I get.
All right.
I actually learned from both Banana and Sen about the travel. Do you not have a fortune?
It's empty.
Oh no.
Is that bad luck?
It's the Jiangshi.
Oh no. I'm just like eating
It's
it.
going on one of the cards. Just an empty fortune.
An empty fortune cookie.
Oh,
Do it. Yes. But I learned from both Banana and Sen like different parts of the story of fortune cookies and how they're tradition. People view them as a synonymous with Chinese takeout, but they're not actually Chinese. And like 30 days ago, I did not know this.
Yeah. They're inspired by Japanese cookies. I don't want to like mess up the name, but they're like this pastry they're not really a pastry. They're a cookie, cracker type thing, which is like found near shrines and stuff. So you would like go to like a store that sells them near a shrine area, and they would have like fortunes in them. And so what happened was a merchant took that idea, made his own version of it, and started selling them to Japanese-owned Chinese restaurants in the Americas, in the area. And then eventually, when World War II happened, a bunch of Japanese people had to leave, for internment camps. They got taken away basically. And the fortune cookies sort of stuck because a lot of Western clientele, they were just like asking Chinese restaurants that were Chinese owned, like, hey, can we get some fortune cookies? And they're just like, sure, we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
really funny. It's this interesting kind of switch. So now in a lot of major cities that aren't near coasts or where there's not a high percentage of like Japanese people, most of the sushi restaurants aren't owned by Japanese people. It's a lot of Korean people and Chinese
A lot of
people.
Korean, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just this interesting thing. Like, it's like, why did the early Japanese that came to China, to Canada and the United States, do Chinese food. It's probably because it was just easier. It's easy because people accepted it already, as opposed to trying to bring this new strange food into the the zeitgeist of the Americans at that time. So it's just an interesting kind of phenomenon.
Yeah. And it's also interesting, like, what we consider, like, it sort of opens up this question about, like, authenticity as well, that, like, a lot
Sure.
of people have a lot of interest in, but I feel like authenticity doesn't necessarily have to be, like, what we necessarily all think of it as being. Like, I think it's, if it's, like, in the case of Chinese food specifically, like, a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on, is this from China? Is this like something that's eaten in China? Like, I feel like if it's, Chinese American, that's still Chinese. It's
Right.
a different kind of Chinese food. But I think it's still, valid, right? Like, it's just different.
Yeah.
So my wife ordered when we ordered takeout today, she ordered orange beef, and I was just thinking about Sen's story about no, that your cow pulls the plow. Like, you don't eat the cow.
You don't eat the cow.
It's like, you don't eat the cow. So I was just thinking about that, like, earlier today, how it's like, is that an authentic Chinese experience?
Well, I mean, it also depends on where you are in China. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
right, because
And
my
then
family are
even-
from the island, so no.
So no.
No,
And
there's no
even
cows there.
within a region, I think I read somewhere one of these the white chefs of Asian cuisine, one of these celebrity chefs said that the best, if you ask anyone in Asia, is what my grandmother makes, right? The most authentic is the way that my grandmother makes it is the most authentic. Sometimes people can sort of like do a larger study of the region and make some really interesting food too.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally accurate, Stephen. Like my wife's father is from India, and so she's Indian, but her mom is American, so she's half Indian. But she's got all that cultural knowledge, right? So people will talk about like, oh, I like curry, and it's like curry is not a thing. That's just an Indian word that means like stew. Like it's what do you mean? You have to be more specific. What do you mean you like curry?
Right.
But it's
There's a lot there.
there's so many different things. But what I was going to say is I almost lost track of it, but I got it back. It almost got away. It's masala is the same way. Masala just means spice mix. So like you have like chicken masala or whatever. It's like chicken masala is like however mom made it. However you learn to make it is how yours tastes. And like like that experience is that way. Like there's not, you get it, like you filter it through all the things, and then you could buy like chicken masala in the frozen food section at Trader Joe's, but that only tastes like, why is that the masala, right? Like masala means it's not home unless it's you learned it at home, and then it is home cooking. I don't know. I haven't been articulate as I wanted to be, but
we understood. Yeah.
I mean, it's the same everywhere, I guess is what I'm saying, and that is
Yeah.
what makes it so important, is that it's those. I was also reminded earlier. This may get off too philosophical, but I was reminded. I always think about I'm always ready to talk about the riddle of the ship of Theseus, when it comes up with what is authentic, because like for me, and we can explain the riddle of the ship of Theseus if that needs to be done, but like my answer to that not ancient, but like it's like it's Enlightenment era. But anyway, the answer is the thing that you experience is the thing that is real to you. So in my answer to that question, so like your mother's cooking is the best one, or your family cooking, your family recipes are the real version, and that does make it authentic, right? Because if you're, like you were all saying, like if your family's here and you've got beef in it instead of something else because that's available here, it's your family's recipe, and that's it. You know, you can't. It does have authenticity. You know.
Right.
I think one thing that I learned a lot of just in writing this whole thing. Sorry, did you have something to say?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Did we hit 120,000? What?
We did. Actually, we did have someone say they would play us a hand of Mahjong for $20,000.
Oh.
Let's do it.
Turns out I was a shark this whole time. I'm just kidding. I don't know how to play. Don't play me.
But no, what I was gonna say is
play
that
nice rules or new?
the the idea of authenticity in Asian food or whatever food we're doing. I think the biggest takeaway that I got from doing all the research for this game and other stuff was that authenticity at the end of the day doesn't really matter as much as do people buy it? Can I survive off cooking this stuff? Can I make it for as little as it costs me to make it and sell it for as much as I possibly can? What's the margin? Because you know, there are definitely people who cook for art. Lots and lots of people do it, and lots of people should, and it should be revered as that. And then there are people who have to cook for sustenance and to like actually survive in the world today. And that was what it was, right? So in doing the research, you know, we found out that a lot of people who came over from China and ended up working in restaurants had no clue what they were doing when they came to Canada or the United States. They didn't know how to cook. They weren't chefs. There definitely are people who, you know, trained in the Hong Kong restaurants or whatever and came over later. But in the early years, in like the 1800s, late 1800s, it was just people. And they were actually taught how to cook those meals by like benevolent societies, and then like shipped off to a place to go work, right? So it was like on the job training type stuff for people. And there was a lot of pressure from the chefy types, the people who actually knew how to cook, to like introduce like, you know, actual authentic food. And it just almost always failed because it wasn't they couldn't get the right ingredients. They didn't have the right taste profile for the region, all sorts of reasons why it just didn't work at the time. It's kind of like board games. So oftentimes I discuss board games in terms of innovation. And I say, if you have a theme that's really innovative and a mechanic that's really innovative, that's too much innovation. People don't actually want that much innovation. They want either an innovative theme with mechanics they understand, or mechanical innovation with like a theme that they can get behind. Because if you leave them with too much innovation, they don't have a hook to hang their hat on, and so they have to learn everything, and that's what nobody wants. It's the same thing with cooking in a way, right? Like if you instantly threw somebody into like the far field of like we're talking about Japanese cooking. So let's go to the far field of Japanese cooking. And it's like natto and uni and like sea urchin and stuff, right? So it's like, that's not
1 minute.
Oh, the countdown's happening.
Oh, yeah,
we're in the red.
Oh, 55,
yeah, it's like
54.
red numbers at me.
Yeah, 52, 51.
Oh, we're actually counting?
I don't know.
50.
Maybe
Okay.
when we get to 10. Let's see when we get to 10.
You definitely got to count down from 10.
Yeah.
Can you finish your
sure.
story in 30 seconds, though?
Yes.
Sam?
Yeah. So the idea of really weird food is that it doesn't sell. And so restaurants just don't do it. Like my friend who owns a barbecue restaurant says, yeah, I could do that, but nobody but you's going to order it. So I'm not going to do it. Right. But if you want to call me 2 weeks before you're coming, I will order that meat and I will cook it for you, but you got to come, because I just can't put that on my everyday menu. It's just not going to sell. Right. So that kind of stuff, right? 10, 9,
8,
7,
6,
6,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah!
Oh, it actually gives me fireworks.
It has like fireworks and stuff. Look at that.
Yeah.
Neat.
That was the worst countdown ever, guys.
Hey, but you know
No, we
what?
weren't even in sync.
Well, you know, it's Theseus, right? The riddle of Theseus. We experienced it together, and so that's what the
all
countdown
that matters. That's all that matters.
How auspicious is this number though? 100,688.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, look at that.
Whoa.
That's not too bad. Somebody needs to give us $200 more though. Make it the 888. That would make me more happy.
Oh man, that's
Great though.
That's pretty good.
that's fantastic. That's awesome.
1,760 backers, guys.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
And non-binary
Uh,
pals. That's awesome.
Thank you, everyone who's watching
Yeah,
this,
absolutely.
who backed,
Yeah.
because
Thank
those
you.
fireworks for you too.
Yay!
Yay! Thank you so much, everyone.
The what to to Matt's point and to Sen's point, of well, I guess it's kind of what we've been just talking about, all the authenticity. I know that we've talked about this, and especially because the game is really focuses on the immigrant experience. Matt and I have talked about this a lot in like the litmus tests for what patriotism is. What does it mean to be like an American? What does it mean to be, whatever? And, it's like, I feel like I remember my mom telling me stories of, because my mom is Ukrainian, came to America in the late 40s, 1950s. She immigrated in like 1949. But, like she was here going to school in central Illinois in the middle of the Cold War, and she had a thick Russian accent and spoke Russian at home. And, it was one of those things where like, people called her red and commie and all kinds of stuff. But like her father and mother were just as American as, someone who's been here for 200 years. And actually my best friend can draw his lineage to like the Mayflower Compact. And we've actually had an experience in college where we confronted someone about that because someone had come down the stairs and at an apartment while we were outside, drinking beers and, was talking shit and pardon me, but was talking very poorly about immigrants. And we were like, hold on, let's talk about this. Like, this is not gonna stand. And I think those litmus tests that we as a culture kind of put in front of people as barriers to acceptance is extremely problematic. And I love the fact that this game doesn't shy away from that as a teaching tool. It's that experience is part of some of these scenarios pretty blatantly. And so I guess Banana and Sen, like I guess, can you maybe talk about some of the decisions that went into that design thought process?
That's a big question.
But I mean, it is. I mean, let's just count down again.
I think definitely the idea, we can start with the theme itself, I guess. Like the idea of the Jiangshi being, these energy sucking things, like they are a metaphor for like, all the stress and all the oppression and all the crap that this family has to go through, like this immigrant family has to go through. And so I think having that anchored down really helped with the design process, because now we have this, we gave it a name, now it's a thing, like when you name a demon, you can like somehow exercise it. It's similar to that, right? Like now that it has a name, we can sort of pinpoint like, how do we want this experience to work out? And so that's sort of how like the Jiangshi cards came about. Like we decided that, the character sheet itself has like all these slots. I think initially it was a different kind of design. It was something else. I think actually, now that I think about it, way back when we first started designing this thing, we wanted to use like playbooks, right? Or do we do something else then?
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily know if we wanted to use playbooks, but we wanted to do something that was easy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think, from there, it sort of evolved into these cards that cover up the character sheet as, players take on damage, whether it's stress or physical damage, or trauma in general. So I think that was something that anchored the design a little bit. And I think when we were talking about the restaurant, I think Sen actually came up with this, where we wanted to have the restaurant be an entity of itself. It's like a character itself. So how you treat the restaurant, how you take care of it, that impacts the game. So similar to the rest of the character sheets, with the different slots, as things get covered up, it loses its abilities. It removes certain things about the restaurant itself. And so at the end of it, like once all the slots are covered up, then you no longer have a restaurant. You no longer have like a thing that that helps the story forward.
Yeah, have you guys seen Doom Patrol yet?
Not yet. It's on the list.
Okay, so Danny the Street is a street. It's actually a genderqueer street that is in the whole strange comic, and I guess part of it is definitely like I have a very much a Shinto bent to how I think about things, and like what's spirits that live in things, and so I think that the restaurant kind of comes from that. The restaurant's really a personification of almost like a guardian spirit that helps you if you can help it. It's like the giving tree, and that it will give back to you. It will help you to survive in this brave new world that you've kind of found yourself in. But it needs some love and care as well. Otherwise, it just will stop giving. And so I think that's part of what that was. In terms of like thematics and in terms of the hard lessons and the not so hard lessons, or the ones that are in your face and not so in your face, I think what my goal was in some of the writing was to really show people that it's the casual stuff that's actually more draining than anything else. Like I tell this to everybody, and I often write this in terms on on Facebook and whatnot when I'm talking about racism, which I often do. But that if you're an overt racist who really doesn't like black people or Chinese people or whatever, and we're taking your jobs and stuff, I know that you don't like that. I know you don't like me, and I don't have to be around you, and I can get a restraining order against you or whatever it takes. You and I will not interact with each other, and so I can excise you from my life with no consequence to me at all. That's fine. We're done. It's more like when your friends start using really weirdly racist terms, or when your parents are racist, or when your wife's parents are saying things that are racist. That's what gets me. And so I wanted to build that kind of feeling into the game so that there can be some empathy on that part. For people who aren't of color or aren't Asian or whatever, to feel like, oh, that's what it feels like when people are asking you to repeat yourself constantly because they don't understand you, or to speak English or get out of the country, or things like that, right? So it's just a way of teaching that, and we just have to kind of go with the warning that, and I think we learned this in part a little bit through the campaign, is that when you try to build an empathy engine, sometimes the people who you're trying to teach about are going to be re-traumatized by the attempt, unless you're really careful and unless you're really sensitive to their needs. And, Banana and I saying, oh, well, we went through it and we're all good with it now. We can talk about it, we can joke about it, or we can write a game about it. That doesn't mean we should. That means we should be careful about the tools that we put in the game, the writing that we do in the game. And it's pretty funny because I wrote another adventure for another game system, which Banana also wrote for, which is the Curse of the...
Oh, Rookwood.
Yeah, Rookwood.
Yeah.
And I wrote this whole thing about a house that was owned by a man who was basically a cattle thief. And the cattle thieves actually massacred like something like 28 to 32 Chinese miners in the Pacific Northwest at a very specific time in history. This actually happened. But they lost track of all these people. Nobody really went to jail or justice or anything like that. And so we wrote this fictional account where one of the not the family members, but one of the gang members buys a house, and then their family from then on is cursed by the Chinese miners and the ghosts of the Chinese miners, but also haunted by the ghosts of the other gang members. So it was a really interesting story. And one of the curses, so in this game, everybody gets cursed, and these curses kind of play out over your game period where you get more and more bad things happening to you because your curse is keeping on kind of piling up on top of you. And I made this one curse, Curse of the Yellow Peril, where you don't change at all, which is really weird because most curses change you. But in this one, you don't change, but everybody else's perception of you changes. And all of a sudden they're like, I don't understand you. You know, why do you talk like that? What is that? Why are you, what, you know, and they'll comment on your hair is so beautiful and straight. You know, how do you get your hair like that? I want to touch it. And they'll do things like shorten your name or give you a nickname because they can't pronounce your name anymore. And you're like, what's happening to me? What's going on? And the editors for the book were like, this is really weird and sensitive. How do you want to do this? I said, well, I don't know. It's just like that, how I wrote it. But what I don't recognize is I'm jaded. I'm supremely jaded. I've been on the planet for almost 50 years. And I put up with this part of my French, for almost 50 years. So I'm okay with it to talk about it and to discuss it like a human being. But I think a lot of people out there just aren't, whether it's, you know, whether you're Asian or whether you're white or whether you're anything, some people just aren't ready to deal with that. And so I had to rewrite parts of it, not change anything, just rewrite like author's notes where normally like Banana has a scenario, and I don't think she has a single author's note in it, but I have like this 3-page thing on author's note of how to play like a character where you might be subject to racism.
Oh, thank God. Okay. Because my characters are Chinese.
Yeah. But you didn't do this stuff. You didn't do weird stuff like I did, which is weird because normally you do weirder stuff than I do.
Instead, I did the reverse of what you did. So the family is Chinese, and they are slowly turning, like they're slowly becoming blonde, and like their eye, like they're becoming possessed by the sort of like in the TV show, hit Netflix show Chambers, where the main character, she's an indigenous woman, and she starts turning into like the so she gets a heart transplant, and the heart transplant is from a wealthy white family. And so, you know, the white family is just like being like really obsessive over her and like trying to like, you know, do all these things for her. And like as this is happening, like the heart is trying to possess her. And so the heart's like, you know, turning her sort of like physically into like the person who used to have that heart.
So weird.
So yeah. So that's what the inspiration for my scenario was.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sen. I just totally derailed you.
No, that's great. So I guess my point there is that, you know, in some of these scenarios, there are going to be some hard lessons. Some of them are going to be soft. And the thing about it, though, is just like any RPG, it's a sandbox. You take what you want. You don't use what you don't want. And it should be up to the discretion of the players and the GM together to decide, you know, how deep do we want to get into this? And we have an X card right in the box. You can exit, and we don't have to talk about it today, or we don't have to do it ever again. Or, yeah, I thought I could handle it, but no, I cannot.
Right.
And that's all okay. The idea that this game is sanctioning racism, that's a hard no from both of us. Like that was never the intention, and it hopefully won't be the result. The result is, though, dependent on the table, right? If a bunch of, you know, Ku Klux Klan members decide to buy this game, I don't know why they do that, but if they decided to, I can't stop them.
Hey, but they bought it.
Hey, we'll take the money, whatever.
You're right. I can't stop them from playing. But if you're at that table, you can try to stop them from playing that way. And, you know, that's kind of what we're asking people to do, is police your own table, if policing is a word we should use. But watch your own table.
But I think that's a very good point. Like in the, and I know that we had a comment where, overt racists are easy to deal with in polite society. And I think, in a situation, if there's, blatant racism around your table, or if there's comments that are, that are way off base, that's, there's a certain level of accountability that needs to happen in a polite society. And send to with the what you were writing, there's a certain level of uncomfortableness that that happens in society when people are confronted with racism. And most of the time, when an overt racist is confronted and is confronted publicly in that situation, like, they stand down. Like, there might be anger, there might be fear, there might be some confrontation, but when people are called on it, that's one of those things where you say, like, you need to reassess where you're coming from. Take a look.
Yeah, and it's something that I talk about a lot also, is that you're going to be uncomfortable. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Like, if you are comfortable with this, you've either done all the work or you've done none of the work. And most people are in the middle that have done some of the work but don't know where to go past that. And it's in the uncomfortableness that you will actually learn.
Yes.
I can't teach anybody anything they already know. I also can't teach anything to anybody that doesn't want to know that thing. That is willfully being ignorant. It's the kind of middle ground people where you have to kind of get over that uncomfortableness and dive into the learning aspect of it to say, okay, I'm going to be comfortable with my uncomfortableness, and I'm going to admit that I don't know something. And that's the only way you learn, right? That's the only way you open up to say, okay, I am not versed in this. I am actually ignorant in this area, but I want to learn. And so I'm going to be uncomfortable, and I'm going to be there. Right.
And also in the book, I think we do a pretty good job with, going through all the history and, explaining the reason why certain things happened, right? Like, there's a reason why, Chinese people ran restaurants. There's a reason why, we were limited to only running, laundromats sometimes as well. Like, there are all these legal things that had happened, back then, that sort of explains, like, why some people were pigeonholed into poverty, basically, and why we're bringing this up right now in the game and why it's relevant.
Yeah. Changing gears a little bit, we have someone on our chat feed right now. He's a Chinese American from Honolulu and mentioned Honolulu Chinatown for a sequel ? So I mean,
I think we have to go visit it first.
Yeah, we gotta visit.
So if you want to make your own Chinatown, that is totally possible, and you can definitely play in your own as well, because we have a template for you to make your own Chinatown, and we have a template for you to make your own scenario as well. So you can definitely do that.
Yeah, and I mean, feel free to share it with us on social media and everything like that. I mean, maybe what we can do is build a repository for all this cool stuff that people are going to make. Because
I think Facebook group.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I want to see. I want to learn more about interesting Chinatowns around the world. I've actually probably been to the one in Hawaii and Honolulu and all those ones over there, but it's just different, right? Because it's a different kind of setting, especially on islands. Islands are always very different because they're little small little cultures, right? But the other thing that I want people to take this game and remix it, like take a different culture and do it, or take Chinatowns at a different time. It doesn't have to be in the 20s, it doesn't have to be in the 30s, could be in the future, could be in the 80s, could be way back in the in the gold rush era. So there's all sorts of ways you could take this. You could do this with Italian immigrants, with Irish immigrants, with Ukrainian immigrants, and I think that would be cool too, because everybody has a story to tell. Every culture that has come over from the old world, wherever that happened to be for you and yours, probably has an equivalent of a bogeyman, right? Which is for us, that's all the Jiangshi really are, right? They're just like some kind of unstoppable force that we're trying to stop. So yeah, I want to see all of that. I want to see what's going to happen when somebody has a Jamaican restaurant in Queens. What's going to happen? Who's attacking us? I want to play that game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think that like the mechanics that we have definitely were made to tell an immigrant story. So it's pretty open. Like if you definitely wanted to, tell your own story, that's totally open. And we have scenarios in the book that are made by. We have one that's made by Yoshi Kuroman, who did a Japanese internment camp story. We have Carl Pierre Lewis, who's working with us on a Haitian American story. So there's stuff in there, and you can definitely, play with it, remix it, do whatever you want with it.
Again, like I would love to see it, so we'll have to figure out a way for people to share that, right? And see
Yeah,
what there is out
absolutely.
there.
Well, and I think, any of those things too, especially like, if people share them, publicly in a Facebook group or something of that sort, it'd be great. Or even like take something and, have the scenario laid out and put it on drive-through and, send out a bundle of them to people as like fan created things. I mean, those things, I know people would love to experience that as well. Yeah.
And if anyone wants to have Baba Yaga in a cybernetic futuristic restaurant, I'll draw that. I'll draw that for free. Just tell me. Draw that.
I mean, I definitely want that.
Yeah.
Who
Second.
doesn't?
Yeah.
Because I mean, the hut itself could be a restaurant.
That's what I'm saying. And there's like the legs sticking out, but
Yeah.
chicken feet, full circle.
Oh.
I was talking to Matt about this earlier too. I was talking to Matt about this. I was like, when, after the play test that, that I did with Banana, and then after watching the first session of the playthrough with Daniel Kwan, I woke up like the next morning and was like, okay, I could definitely see like, people playing this game using these mechanics and playing the crew of the Nostromo and Alien, like sitting around the dining hall table and like terrible stuff is happening. And I was just like, wow, so definitely putting this in a futuristic or sci-fi setting is not out of the question. And then again, family is what you make it, so it's, yeah, there's a lot of variation that can happen in using this toolkit.
And I mean, if somebody wants to make a more combat-oriented version, it's really not hard. All it is rolls, because you just as
Right.
a game master, as a game moderator, you're just asking people to make challenge rolls. You just have to say what this challenge roll is for, and maybe now you make some new skills like, I don't know, demolitions and firearms, and fine, make those skills. I want to see
Right.
those skills.
Just
They
those
just
on
aren't
your-
relevant to 1920 Chinatown, I guess.
They become like skills on the 8 block of your abilities, and maybe you've got your combat abilities there, but like, yeah, I could totally see that. It wouldn't be that hard to put it on there. They're going to get threatened just like all the other parts of yourself get threatened as they fill up with those stress cards.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But then Banana, you have to, just throw salt at that. Like,
Oh yeah.
We're not No.
I'll play grandma.
Well, in space, there are no grandmas.
Lies. Lies.
Lies.
I'll be the first space grandma.
Space grandma.
Space grandma.
No, the one, we were talking about the different perspectives and how, the last scenario we unlocked was by a new writer, Vladimir Bradovich, who's been, he's done some stuff with Wet Ink before. and he's a fantastic narrator for some of our games that we've had in the past. And he's going to be writing from a Romani perspective, and he's in chat right now. One of the things he said was, "I'll be the first to admit I'm terrified about writing from a Romani perspective." And Kim, who's apparently with Vlad right now, Steven said, "You said Baba Yaga, and he visibly had issues on the other side of the table."
Yikes.
Yeah. So you're definitely onto something there.
Yeah. And I think that's a gain from a writer's point of view. That's being scared about what you're going to write or being challenged yourself by what you're going to write.
Yeah.
If it's not challenging, why are we doing it?
Right.
Right. I don't want that. I want you to be challenged. I want something to come out that's raw and unfettered, and we can, massage it into something that's reasonable. But yeah, there's definitely something when you're asked or you take on, like, I'm speaking for all Chinese people everywhere. I mean, we're obviously not. We never said we were, but some people like kind of assume that a little bit. And some people like we're going, is Banana Chan even Chinese? And it's just some weird stuff, right? So there's definitely... Oh, the salt is coming out.
I've gotten that a few times in my life.
Yeah. It's an interesting conundrum. Again, it's kind of like the traumatized being re-traumatized, right? It's like we spent so much of our life being, mocked for who we are sometimes, or demonized or villainized, or the world does it, right? I mean, and then you're asked to represent that whole culture in a kind of positive way, and how's that going to look, and all this stress, but you can do it. You can do it. We've got faith in you.
I think that's the beauty of this. I've used the term elegant when describing this system before, because when talking about it in social media posts and things like that, but it truly is an elegant way to convey conflict and to in relationships, and especially the importance of relationships. And I think as we move forward and tell these stories, there's a lot of othering that happens around these characters. And so when we enter into a new cultural context, we enter into a Chinese context or a Ukrainian context or a Romani context or whatever that looks like. We also need to make sure that as we learn about it, as personally as a player, as we learn about this, we need to make sure that the othering doesn't necessarily happen and we don't make a caricature, but we really try to understand and engage with what the writer is trying to communicate in that experience. And I know that, like, to your other point, Sen, because I got a lot of gears working right now. The most challenging games that I've played over the past couple of years, one of them was a 200-word RPG that Matt had us run at a local event, where it was just letter writing, where there were 6 people around the table and he paired us up and it was like, okay, I'm gonna be the postal carrier and I'm gonna deliver letters to your cousin or whatever. And it was like I saved the pieces of notebook paper because I was like, it was such a real experience, and it's hard for me. I'm not a journaler. I don't write letters, and it was definitely a stretch outside of my comfort zone, and trying to do so in a way that wasn't insensitive. So anyway, it was awesome.
That was Dear Elizabeth. I think that was one of the 2019 winners from maybe it was 2018, but it was definitely one of the winners for 200-word RPG challenge was Dear Elizabeth. We did that one. Yeah, it's like a Jane Austen style setting where you're writing letters about the things that are happening in your family to a family member, or some acquaintance of yours, and you have to describe
I think going back a little bit to othering the characters, I think Mendez actually writes something that's really cool in the book, and that's um, like when we were working on the how to play a Chinese character section, he brought up a good point, which was like, don't try too hard. Like, don't
Yeah.
try to integrate things that you don't know into your character, and just sort of play the character as you would, like, with any other sort of, like, if you're a kid who has a lot of stress, and you have this job at a restaurant, and you also have these aspirations of becoming a writer, or like doing other kid things, then like act as if you're that kid who has a lot of stress, not like a stereotype or a caricature of that kid.
The first that was it the live playthrough from Asians Represent. I was driving my daughters around in the car, listening to that stream. I was trying to get them to take a nap, and so I'm driving like all over the city, and like I'm just listening to that. And there's a character who was, who wanted to be a writer, and then the family wanted him to be a doctor, wanted him to go study, and like that entire character was like, it was definitely identifiable. Even like I'm not a, I can't put myself necessarily in that exact position, but like I went to undergrad for music education, and up until the day I walked onto a college campus, my mom was like, "Are you sure you don't want to go to business school?" Like, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, so it's, there are little things like that, but man, that it definitely struck home. And I feel those gaming experiences are so much more authentic, and when other people are around the table and they can feel that, sometimes you do want to step out of your comfort zone and try something new and be something different. I'm not a half dragon fighter, I'm me, but it's in a game like this where you're telling stories about experiences, it's so strong when you see that authenticity in the game.
I got something I keep thinking about, and this is related to this game and to a lot of the other. I don't know. It's almost like such a, how much more praise can we heap on you, Banana and Sen, as the designers of this game, right? But
Stop. Okay.
yeah, you can handle some more, right? Your heads aren't going to explode. Like, you can handle some more praise. But you're talking about gears turning, right? So like, let's go back like a bunch. And like, one thing that I want to say about, like, when you're maintaining your own table, you mentioned the X card. The game moderator can use the X card as well. So if somebody gets a little bit off the track and they're doing some stereotype stuff, you as the game moderator can also X card that. It doesn't just, it's not just a tool to protect the players from you. You can use it to moderate the table. So that's something there. But then like that kind of role of like, taking on, it's almost like too much responsibility, right? To like, oh, I'm going to get this game and I'm going to open it up, and then I've got to be the game moderator, and I've got to like present the oppression of the world to these players who they're not Chinese maybe, and like it on one level it almost seems too much. And there's almost like we've talked about education, the educational potential of the experience. Again, like anytime you say education, then people are like, oh, but I haven't studied enough for that. It seems like there's, again, you could take a really attack with it where you end up with a very educational experience because you've done a bunch of homework. But I think what Banana said is also really important to anyone who's thinking that direction for it. Like, you don't have to try that hard. You can just be people. Just, what you should know something about what people do, because you yourself are a human. So Chinese, unlike Dragonborn, like Chinese people aren't some like mystical race that's part of this whole game. These are just people.
Right.
They're running a restaurant. Like, if you're, like Banana said, if you're stressed, if you've ever been stressed, imagine that. Just play that. Don't invent some like crazy, you know, I don't have to, you know, anyway, just to repeat what she said. She said it good. You don't have to get that elaborate with it. Even though the game has the potential like to be a history lesson and an education and the empathy engine, all that kind of stuff. Like, you could do all that with it, or you don't have to. It can be easier than you think. So. I don't know, Steven,
Well,
you haven't said anything in a while. What's up with you?
I'm listening. I think this is all really interesting. I'm enjoying hearing all of y'all's perspectives. I think that this is, I mean, it's important conversations to have. I also think that, you know, I'm a relative neophyte when it comes to role-playing games. So I think, you know, a lot of the stuff that you all are doing were things that I had considered playing my usual murder hobo games. That, you know, that these are themes that, you know, if we're actually role-playing and improvising, interacting with one another in this sort of safe setting, stuff that you can do. So I like it. I like these other things that, you know, it's more than just killing things.
Oh yeah. Well, we've had the conversation a few times with, you know, especially on Twitter, and as you know, throughout the campaign, as different creators have mentioned Jiangshi in just in their daily tweets or whatever. It's pretty evident to me as a lifelong nerd that we are really living in like a golden age of indie RPGs. Like, indie RPGs are, you know, you're seeing things come forward that, you know, 10 years ago would never have seen the light of day. And crowdfunding can really go a long way into explaining that phenomenon, but also the fact that so many creators recognize that there's a niche that in the market, that like not everyone wants to play D&D, you know, as much as popular as it is, you know, it's got name recognition, but you see creators like you know, Spencer Stark, who has done things recently. I mean, Banana and Sen, like with this game, this is fantastic. J Dragon is, you know, put out you know, just did Sleepaway and has something on Kickstarter right now, Wander Home, which, I mean, these are things that are games that, you know, I mean, heck, even Never Going Home, like 10 years ago, these are all games that you would never have been printed. And we're living in an era where, you know, you don't have to go play a murder hobo game. You can go and find something new at the table, and bring something new to the table. And I think that's why, you know, you saw a game like this really resonate. And we all talked about that earlier on, how we were kind of surprised that, I mean, we knew there was going to be some level of you know, adherence to this game, but like, it has been pretty surprising to see just how much it has been uplifted. And I think that goes to show, like, we are in a new era of gaming, and people can find new stuff and go try new stuff, and the barrier of entry, the cost barrier, isn't as significant as, you know, people think. You can't even go buy 2 D&D books for what it costs to, you know, to do this, you know, he says, with, you know, a wall of D&D books behind him.
And the other thing, I guess, is that, you know, in this era, especially in this COVID era, that we've all found ways to role play
Yes.
over the internet, and that's definitely something that we're, you know, we're hoping that we can support for Jiangshi. Even though we didn't hit the stretch goal, I mean, we'll figure out how that's going to happen, I guess. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, because I there's definitely people who, it's like, if there's a digital tabletop, especially for this game, because it really does need it more than most other RPGs because of the card and board sort of mechanisms that we have going on. So yeah, it is definitely something that we're going to be looking for.
What are you doing?
My camera's just panning, auto panning.
Have you heard of Yi Xing Da Fa? Like the teleportation technique.
Oh, I am doing
So
that.
powerful.
He's
so
doing
powerful.
that right now. Didn't even realize he was doing it.
We have a question in chat right now.
Yeah.
Aside from being an empathy engine, history and cultural lesson, the game is fun, right? I think that's a valid question.
I mean, it's got junction in it.
Yeah.
Come on, we threw that in for a reason.
No, I mean, just watch some of the playthroughs. That goes a mile. Like that's great. Watch some of the playthroughs. I mean, they are an absolute joy to watch and listen to. And I mean, I know that Sen and Banana, you've run this game a whole bunch, so I'm gonna shut up. Like, the game's fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, so I think it's fun. There's lots and lots of really fun, interesting stories that people tell during the game. Sometimes they may end up being similar to other stories that other people are telling, because it's a genre piece. But everybody seems to find their own ways of doing things. And everybody who's ever played the grandmother or whatever, grandfather, the older people in the game, they usually have a whole lot of fun.
Yes. That was my role.
Because there's some irreverence that you can play them with, right? But yeah, no, I think Banana's style of mission and story stems and things are much more funny inherently than mine are. Mine are typically more dark. For whatever reason, I was feeling really dark when I wrote a lot of these. And that's okay. That we're trying to show that the game can take on very different tones depending on your game table. It can literally be Scooby-Doo. Speaking of Scooby-Doo, you could totally play it like Scooby-Doo in a Chinese restaurant, and that would be totally cool. You could even unmask a Jiangshi at the end and find out that it was Mr. Chan from across the street in the rival restaurant. I'd be okay with that.
Always the rival restaurateur.
Damn other restaurants. But yeah, there's a lot to it and I think the education and empathy means nothing if it's not entertaining. And I think that's the strength of the game as well, is that it is fun, it is entertaining, it is engaging. I mean, fun is such a weird word to use anyway. I think engagement is probably a better word to use. Is it a laugh riot? Not always, but can it be? Sure. And are there definitely times when it's a laugh riot? Yes, 100%. You're gonna have some moments that are just hilarious, and then it's gonna be punctuated with moments of deep horror, and it's gonna be punctuated because some of the art that Steven has drawn is like horrifying, right? It's just gonna mess you up a little bit. But that's kind of what you buy into. It's like there's going to be these emotional highs and lows. I think that's probably the best way to say it. What do you think, Banana? Is it always funny?
I mean, your games are creepy. I'll let you.
Yeah.
But they're creepy in a good way. Like, I love a good horror scenario. So Sen's games are definitely creepier. Mine are definitely sillier, like he was saying. And yeah, it's dependent on how you want to play. It depends on like the tone. Like, we have the mechanics there for you. We have like all the history, all the setting stuff there for you. It's dependent on you and your group. So during that session 0, if you want to set up something that's like on, the spookier side, then definitely, go all out. But if you want to have something funnier, like check out our playthroughs. Like, I usually run my games like they're an episode of Bob's Burgers meets vampires.
I was just getting ready to say that.
Yeah.
Whereas most of mine are more like X-Files.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like X-Filesy, or like my new favorite show, Millennium, which
Okay.
has been I've forgotten how good that show is. But
Like you're talking the old Millennium.
Yeah, like hadn't that been off
yes,
the air
the
for like
old,
12
old,
years?
old
With
Millennium.
like Lance Hendrickson Millennium.
Yeah,
Yes, that one. It's like
That's a good show.
I figured you would like that. That's like a very Sen show.
It is. It's a good show.
It is. It is a really good show.
That would be even better is if he listened to podcasts and then went on adventures because of that.
That's hilarious. It's hilarious because I know you. So yeah.
I haven't thought about Millennium and
A Millennium?
yeah, I know Millennium. Yeah, that's hilarious.
I actually thought it was a
well,
better show than X-Files, to be honest.
It was, yeah. It definitely is.
I mean, I'll always love X-Files, but I really liked Millennium a lot better.
It
For the most
I
part, anyways.
watched enough of Millennium to make an informed opinion.
Well, that's the difference, right? Millennium was much more of a very continuous sort of story thread woven in between it, much more than the X-Files kind of formulaic Monster of the Week, then a story that has continuity, and then Monster of the Week, and then another Monster of the Week, and then some more stuff about the Smoking Man, and then and not that I didn't like that, I did enjoy it a lot. I like X-Files quite a bit. It's just I think storytelling wise, there was more to Millennium, and like even Fringe and things like that, like things that have evolved the kind of X-Files genre of mysterious things.
Right.
I think Millennium did a better job than X-Files, and I also think that there's definitely stories that are being told now that are better than either of those things because they've just we stand on the shoulders of giants, right? So everything that comes after has been, not everything, but a lot of stuff that's come after has been better because of them.
Mm-hmm. Controversial opinion. I think that Millennium definitely changed the course of television history, but that's just my opinion.
Why? And now I need to know why.
So,
welcome everybody to Millennium Stands, our new podcast.
So I think that the way that they frame things in such a dark manner, and also like the way that they've taken like a movie format and put it into like a spread out TV show is really interesting. And you're seeing that a lot more with TV shows now. I think that's one of the ways that they did it. Also, even though it was like 20 episodes per season, like how they stretched it out, like I think that people later on realize that they can shorten things based on that format, and it's okay to sort of cut it up. If it's better fit for like a movie thing, that's fine on its own, but for something like this, it definitely needed to be a TV show. So I have a lot of things to talk about. This could take very long.
I seriously have probably only seen one episode of Millennium, and that was like when it was on back in the day. But from what it sounds like, it does sound like it was ahead of its time. Like TV wasn't made that way commonly in the 90s, and it is now, like with prestige television and the streaming capabilities and stuff like that. But like, yeah, it sounds like people weren't ready for it,
No, and I think that's why it wasn't as widely well received as X-Files, right? Even though the stories and the hooks are similar in some ways.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Babylon 5, which was also a mid-90s show that also had like a 5-year arc across its 5 seasons, and it wasn't supposed to, like, unlike X-Files, which just they kept finding ways to keep it on the air even after all of the original cast was gone. Babylon 5 was 5 years and it was over and that was it. Again, something that it was ahead of its time, I think. But like you said, it sort of led the way to other things that now that's common. Like,
yeah, I love Bab 5 for that. There's definitely some weak parts of it, but I think the overall idea and the concept of, when Straczynski said, this is over in exactly as many things, and then I'm writing exactly for that. I thought that was brilliant because it kind of gives you that headspace to, as a viewer, just to say, I don't have to dedicate any more of my life to this, but I'm going to go all in on what there is, right? So that's why I really appreciated it. And I do like that about series that end. I would rather have a good series end than or a mediocre. I'd actually rather have a mediocre series end than a good series go on forever. Because I just can't take it. I can't stay invested long enough to get to the end of most stories.
So wrapping that back around to Jiangshi specifically.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this is, no. This isn't a like, hey, let's not talk about Millennium anymore. But like one of the things I really like about a lot of indie games that we're seeing now, like Jiangshi, and we've had people say like, can we run a campaign in this? Like, you can, but like the grace of some of the systems that we're seeing now is like, you don't have to. You can say, I'm going to play 3 sessions in this, and then we're going to put it away, or then we'll pull something else off the shelf, and we'll run 2 weeks of this, and then, or we'll flip to another thing, and let's make an entirely new family in Jiangshi and do something else. Let's have that Scooby-Doo game. Let's come back and do something.
I'm going to write a supplement called Banana and I will write it, Jiangshi Generations. We play the next generation of the family that owns a restaurant.
That would be awesome. That would be so
all right.
cool.
Or so here's a real thing that happens. Oftentimes what happens is a Chinese restaurant the owner will say, I've had enough, and they'll just sell it to another Chinese family.
Yeah.
All the time.
Oh.
Yep.
Same name, same menu. They teach them how to cook the exact same menu. They tell them this is the specials of the week in this order. Just follow that. No problem. Because all they want to do is actually earn a living. Right?
Yep.
And so they buy a restaurant or on the hopes that this will be my job. I'm buying myself a job.
Yeah.
That is what they're doing. And so the idea of like Jiangshi Generations, this is now a thing, by the way, where either it's the next family that bought it, or it's your family that has, several generations later still owns this restaurant. It's still in your family. I think that'd be super cool.
Yeah.
Where you've bought this restaurant that's haunted by Jiangshi.
Right.
God damn it.
Or you're coming back from medical school because you finally, did the whole doctor thing, and you came back like, I remember my parents when I was younger talking about something going on here. I'm here to help.
Yeah, that medical degree won't help you against the Jiangshi. Sorry.
So I guess that actually really streamlines or feeds right into the next question, I guess. And I know we only I kind of put a limit at like about 9 o'clock. We've been talking for a little bit, but what's next? Like, I know everyone here is busy. Everyone here has about 58 irons in the fire. But if there's something specific that you wanna talk about, or you wanna, can talk about, yeah.
This is my to-do list right here.
Oh my god, that looks like a receipt from FedEx.
It's like strips of paper that I like stapled together.
Oh.
I've made my own little.
Doing, reusing, and recycling.
I am. This is that's the reuse stage of reduce, reuse, recycle.
Nice.
It will eventually also be recycled.
Let's see, right? Banana and I just got some email. I think Banana, didn't we?
Oh, did we?
We got a couple things. So we got something from Gallant Knight.
Yes. Yes, we did. Sorry.
That if you respond, then we're good to go on something.
Wait, are you talking about the thing with the
So intriguing.
The thing and the other thing?
No,
that's Exalted. That also came in today.
we're not supposed to talk about it.
Oh,
Wait, are we? I don't know how much we're supposed to talk about
I
it.
don't remember.
I don't know either.
You guys need to like mute yourselves and have a little. You need to have a little separate room.
We can send it in the chat. We can send it in the
take
chat.
to the back.
Oh yeah.
There's
It's part of an Asian game designer fight club that they're not supposed to talk about.
Oh, that'd be super fun. We'd all know kung fu, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. We're working on a couple games for a couple companies, and nothing necessarily signed yet, but pitching to some people. And then the one that I was just talking about was Gallant Knight wants us to do some writing for something. So
Yeah, for a
I
thing.
mean, Gallant Knight, Alan's awesome. I've written some stuff for him before, adventures and stuff. And I know he's been very helpful in, whenever I've had any questions from a business standpoint, like, yeah, he's fantastic. I know I give him grief on the internet sometimes, but man, I think the world of that guy. So
yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
And then we're starting some new projects that I can't talk about because of NDAs.
Or can we? Oh
no, I
right.
actually can't. This one I
okay,
can't.
okay, never mind. Yep, I know what you're talking about. Wait.
What else?
No.
Well, yes, that is another one.
This is
okay.
so great. We have at least 3 different, yes, we have that one, with the subtle nod.
And currently I'm writing a game that I also can't talk about. But it's in the series that is online right now. Once you're done watching this, go over to BGG's Twitch channel and you can watch the board game night live team playing Scooby-Doo Escape from the Haunted Mansion, with Deborah Ann Wall from I don't know, everything like Punisher and Daredevil and what's that one with vampires? Is that what she was on? With Suki. Do you remember? With Joe. Joe was on it.
Buffy? Was it Buffy? No, Angel?
No. This is it's come on, you know it. Joe is a werewolf in it.
Ringing no bells. Sorry, don't watch enough TV, I guess.
Wait. Say that again. Repeat the whole thing.
Okay, so Joe, who we talked about already, who likes D&D, is a werewolf in this show.
Oh,
Wait,
True Blood,
is this
right?
True Blood.
I was gonna say Vampire Diaries.
Yeah. Joe
Okay,
makes
I
True
mixed
Blood.
those two up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was
So
like, what?
Deborah Ann Wall was the young vampire in True Blood, and so she is currently playing my Scooby-Doo game, not Banana Scooby-Doo.
Not Banana Scooby-Doo game.
No,
We
because
have
we both
two
have
separate-
Scooby-Doo games.
I know. I don't
They're
have
separate.
yours then. I have Banana Scooby-Doo game right there.
Oh well, you should get mine.
Oh.
No.
Also good. They are both good. I'm
They're
not
both
saying
very good.
they're both good games. They're both very different games too. So mine is an escape room, and Bananas is Betrayal House on the Hill.
Can I
Right.
just say something? I'm really impressed that we did not tell each other about those Scooby games. Like we did
Yeah,
not
'cause-
break NDA at all.
See, because we don't break NDA.
And these are
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, we're
NDAs
good
are
at
very
this.
important.
We're
they are.
professionals.
We're professional.
So professional.
So I know that Sen and actually Banana, we've talked about it multiple times, but I still have yet to bring you into the base camp about it. There is a game that we've talked about, and we're working with one of our friends, Chuck Walton, who is a phenomenal artist. And Sen, you are going to be working on the core guts, the mechanics of that system, and that's I know that's on our radar for sometime next year, but I know we're still hammering out theme, but kind of like Steven, Chuck can sit there and talk about, toss out ideas and sketch something up visually and be like, hey, here's at Gen Con last year, he actually gave us a stack and was like, here's all of the art that
Like
just concept
2-inch
stuff.
stack.
And
It was hilarious. I saw some of that stack.
Yeah, it's
a good stack of good stuff.
Yeah. So I know that's something, but I know from us, we're working with Bloat Games, and our next project is going to be Dark Places and Demogorgons for it's 5e compatible. And that game is obviously a nod to Stranger Things and a nod to all the 80s stuff that Stranger Things was drawing from. But it's we have a great design team and fantastic artists involved in that as well. And so you'll be seeing some along those lines from us, along with everything that was on Matt's scraps of paper.
Yeah.
Steven, anything like that you want to or can talk about? That is there anything in particular that you're really excited about?
Yeah, I got a couple of things with you guys that are sort of in the ether right now.
Yeah.
It's an ether.
One of my really good buddies is writing a children's book, and that I'm illustrating. It'll take a while because it's hard to change gears from like scary monsters and dark eyeballs to hey, listen kids, love your parents. We're trying to do something that's the original story was for the COVID moment, and as the world sort of has healed and is healing, dealing with stuff, and also dealing with some other issues, we're going to try to change it up. Other than that, I most of y'all know this. I do at least one art project a day, so it's sort of like it's sort of like a personal struggle. So I think of it less as like projects that I'm working on, and more like what am I trying to work on for myself right now in terms of my skills. So there's some stuff going on. I'm really interested in like digital ink stuff now, and trying to move beyond dragons and swords, and doing more of I listened to this one podcast where he was like, if you don't have something like crazy to say about art or how we perceive images, then you're just doing beauty porn. You're just making beautiful things that you find beautiful that other people will like. And I'm okay with that. So I'm starting to explore some of this stuff that I think is like aesthetically good, and then hopefully other people will like it too. And if they don't, that's okay too. You don't have to look at my stuff, but if you think it's cool, that's also cool. So
If someone was going to look at your stuff, where would they look at your stuff?
Oh, I like this. It's my Instagram probably has the more polished pieces, the pieces that I feel like can be shown to people other than my friends and my relatives who will be like, "Oh, that's great! You're so talented," and I'm like, "Okay." And then the other pieces, sort of given to the public for vicious critiques that I can try to improve.
And your Instagram is that at Too Good Woo? Is that right?
Oh, it's at Wurtyurt. WURTYURT.
Okay. I will say that during COVID isolation, one of my tiny joys is to just pop onto your Twitch stream and listen to your like super happy J-pop while like watching you just like sketch stuff. I'm just like, I will sit here and do my day job while like having Steven over here.
So my like super bubblegum, like cutesy Japanese girl J-pop covers. Yeah. These songs are actually really dark. Like the original songs. The only reason I don't have the original songs is because they're gonna mute me if I have. So I have to do covers. So I listen to these like super poppy and like these songs, but like one of the songs is about losing someone that you love and then having this bitter taste of like acid from the morning that you went through. So it's actually really funny. So it's these like cutesy bubblegum like happy tunes, but the lyrics are. But yeah, no, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'll stream more, show everyone all the dirty secrets. Yeah, come see.
Bossa Nova's the same way. It sounds so upbeat unless you know Spanish. And then,
unless you know Spanish, right? Then you get real sad.
Then you get sad, yeah.
Matt, is there anything that you want to add in that you're super excited about?
Well, I don't even know what the official project is called, but August Hahn is a friend of ours. Like we're working with him on a couple things. I think he wrote one of the adventures for Never Going Home and maybe a couple of them, but he put out a call for people to go to this silly website called theyfightcrime.org, and it generates a prompt for you. And so he said, how about you replace the They Fight Crime with They Fight COVID and take the silly prompt and write a story about it. So that's been my project this week for his upcoming anthology, and I don't know even what form it's going to take really. So I've been writing a story about I won't tell you anymore, but anyway, I've been writing a story about fighting COVID based on a silly prompt from that website. So yeah.
All right.
It should be out in some form eventually. I don't know what, like I said, I don't know if it's going to be a website or what.
And I have a box of stuff also that you contributed to that just delivered to my house.
Yeah. That was the Free RPG Day magazine from Level 9 Games, which they called Level 1. And it was supposed to be a bunch, and I haven't seen it. I don't actually know if I'm in it or not.
Because it's right there. You are in it, right. Apparently.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I assume that like maybe I was still in the email thread due to clerical error. Like, I don't know. I sent something to them, and I don't know if it showed up. There was a 200 word RPG, and I'm actually really proud of that one that I wrote for them. So I hope it's in there. But that was, yeah.
All right.
The idea of it being level 1 is it's supposed to be a bunch of introductory materials for new role players. So
I got you.
I'll send you one, Steve.
So it's like foot in the door for new gamers.
Yeah, it's level 1.
Level
1 mag for level 9 games.
All right. Well, we have kind of gone through all of our time. I want to say, guys, it's been an absolute awesome time working with all of you. This the past 30 days has been it's been a blast, and we're still going to obviously working until all this stuff is out. But yeah, it's like we're done. Bye.
In the foreseeable future.
I feel like it's awake. Oh no.
Like, the real work starts now.
Oh
yeah,
God, yeah.
But this has been awesome. You guys
the
are.
The thing is
fantastic.
that we're almost done with the real work too.
Like when we first started this, like I didn't really know what to expect or what this was going to look like, but like you guys, everyone has been so exceedingly professional and kind and helping educate and sharing comments and insights and critiques. Y'all are awesome. So yeah. So
and you, Brandon, you did a lot of this, like all this the Kickstarter. This didn't happen without like tons of like quiet hours there in your basement, like
in my basement, bugging Matthias at like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. You two deserve praise for all your efforts.
Brandon, you did so much work with the updates, the question answering, all the stuff on the back end for the Kickstarter.
All the backers making you work so much, posting all those updates.
Well, I will take that. The backers have been fantastic.
Yeah,
everyone. This entire project has been great. Oh, if you haven't checked, this is for everyone else. If you haven't checked the most recent update, there's at the bottom. There's a bunch of other projects and stuff that we've all liked, and people that we know and love and follow, and their work that we want to share. And so go check it out if you haven't seen it yet. But it's all there. It's fantastic stuff. And you'll definitely be hearing from us very soon. So, all right. Well, thank you all so much.